Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings for Thursday, December the 29th. We got a 6-game slate for Thursday, and as always guys, we are going to go game by game. We're going to give a quick breakdown of this 6-game slate, what I do like, taking a first look on Wednesday night. As always though, before we get started with the video, start with the breakdown, I would appreciate it if you guys would hit that like button down below if you do enjoy these DFS videos. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, check out PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code Noah. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And then for those of you that have never heard about PrizePicks, they're a player prop based DFS site, so they're a little bit different than DraftKings, FanDuel. You're not building out a lineup, you're not competing against other players. It's just you versus their projections. So you have to make at least 2 picks you like, or you can make up to 6 picks, and you can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. You're just taking more or less on a player's projection. As you can see, they do already have some props posted for Thursday's games. You can see what's available on the board right now. Obviously, as we get closer to the start of the games on Thursday, there will be a full list of plays. You can see what stands out to you. They do have a bunch of other sports as well: college football, NFL, college basketball. They have esports too. So definitely give PrizePicks a try. If you guys aren't playing over there yet, use promo code Noah when you sign up, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's go ahead and talk through this Thursday 6-game slate, and we'll start off with the first game of the night, OKC and Charlotte. So this one should be really fun. Two relatively fast-paced teams, two teams that don't play much defense either. We'll start off on the OKC side. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looks like a really good pay-up option today. He's definitely one of my favorite spin-ups on this slate. Really good matchup. I mean, Charlotte's defense is terrible, especially as of late. They've been playing really bad defense, and they've been playing at a really fast pace as well. Since they got LaMelo Ball back, this team is back to being one of the fastest-paced teams in the league. So really good matchup here for SGA. 10-1, I think, is a reasonable price tag for him. I think in this matchup, he definitely has the upside to pay off this price tag. He's a really good option in my opinion. And then Josh Giddey, you could also look to his 6,900. Now, Josh Giddey's minutes have kind of been all over the place. Like last game, he only played 23 minutes, just kind of, it was really weird. He was close to a triple-double, and they just played him 23 minutes. I don't know why. I would say most nights we're getting like low 30s minutes from Giddey, and obviously in a really good matchup like this one, I think Giddey offers some upside here, so I do have some interest in him as well. The rest of OKC, though, probably not going to go to, Dort's 5,100, Jalen Williams is 5K. These guys are playable on a shorter slate like this, but neither one looked that great. Poku did get injured last game, so we'll have to see what they do with the starting lineup. They actually did start Mike Muscala in the second half in place of Poku. Now, he only played 21 minutes, and we've seen the Thunder just play a bunch of guys at center. Like, they can just run a ton of guys. We could see Darius Bazley start. Obviously, the matchup is really good, but whoever starts at center, we know Charlotte gives up a lot of fantasy points to opposing centers. My guess is it's either going to be Muscala or Bazley. I think Bazley probably starts here. Bazley, I know, recently started when they were really low on bigs. So if Darius Bazley starts at center in this matchup at 3K, he's going to be a really good value play. I don't think his minutes are like very secure. I mean, we've seen guys start for OKC and play like 15 minutes, but I would think most likely if Bazley starts, he's getting like low 20s minutes at least, and at 3K, yeah, he's going to be a really good value. If they start Mike Muscala, we could look to him as well at 3,200, I think, or 3,400. But with Poku getting injured last game, I'm pretty sure it was Muscala who started the second half. So kind of a wait and see with what they do with the starting lineup. But there's going to be some value from OKC with them, with them being so thin on bigs right now. No Poku, no JRE either. That'll probably do it for OKC. I think that's really everything that stands out here. Now, on the Charlotte side, you have LaMelo at 9,700. Look, I have no issue going to LaMelo. I think the matchup against OKC is fine. He's probably going to get guarded by Lou Dort, but LaMelo is one of these guys that can win in any matchup. The pace of this game should set up really well for LaMelo. He's a guy that does tend to thrive in fast-paced games. I would rather go up to SGA if I could. I would rather try and find the salary to get SGA, but I think LaMelo is firmly in play today. I have no issues going there in tournaments. The rest of Charlotte, I think there's some guys here that do look appealing. Kelly Oubre is doubtful for today. So without Kelly Oubre, that does boost the ceilings for guys like Terry Rozier. For a little bit for Gordon Hayward, but Gordon Hayward really hasn't shown much of a ceiling this season. I think Rozier at 7,300 is a fine play. I never really get excited to play Rozier, especially when he's playing with LaMelo. But I think without Oubre here, it should be Rozier and LaMelo really taking all the shots, running the offense, really getting all the usage. Last game, Rozier took 18 shots. He just didn't really have the best shooting game. So I think Rozier's a fine play at 7,300. Gordon Hayward, again, hasn't shown much upside this season, but he's been playing big minutes. So at 6K, I don't hate Gordon Hayward. You look at his game log, though, 27, 23, 28, 23, 27. I don't want to fall into a game log trap here, but man, Gordon Hayward just rarely does he ever go out there and just win you the slate. The best game he scored all season was 42 DK points. If he gets you 40 today, it feels like a miracle for Gordon Hayward to get you 40 DK points. But the price tag's fair. He's going to play a lot of minutes. I think that at least makes him a playable option. And then Mason Plumlee, really, really good matchup for Mason Plumlee. His minutes have been okay lately. He's been playing around high 20s, low 30s. This is definitely one of those spots where I think Plumlee should be really productive when he's on the floor. So I usually don't get excited about Mason Plumlee, but I think at 5,800, he is someone that is definitely in consideration for me. PJ Washington, I think his minutes should be a little bit more secure without, Kelly Oubre and potentially without Nick Richards as well. I'm pretty sure Nick Richards already got ruled out, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he's out. So I think we do get 32, 34 minutes from PJ Washington. I think the matchup for him is pretty good. He's been playing pretty well as of late. So I kind of have some interest in him too. There's a lot to like in this game. This is definitely the most appealing game on the slate, in my opinion. A lot to like on both sides, but that'll do it for that one. Let's move on to the next game, Cleveland and Indiana. So for Indiana today, for the Pacers, big news to keep an eye on here with Tyrese Halliburton, who is listed as questionable. I know Halliburton's been questionable a few times this season, and I think he's played every time he's been questionable. So for now, I think we just kind of have to assume that he's playing. Obviously, this matchup against Cleveland is not the best, but I know these teams played pretty recently, and Halliburton had a really big game, 46 DK points in 35 minutes. I think at 9,200, Halliburton feels priced about right for today, but he would be a playable GPP option if he's in. It's a really tough matchup for Miles Turner, but he's cheap, 6,400. He's playable, in my opinion. Pretty much all of Indiana outside of those two guys, Halliburton and Turner, I'm off of. Now, if Halliburton gets ruled out, I think the biggest beneficiaries would definitely be Buddy Hield, Andrew Nembhard, and then TJ McConnell. So we saw Nembhard have some really big games whenever Halliburton was out earlier this season. I'm pretty sure all those games were without TJ McConnell, but I still think Nembhard would get a really big boost if Halliburton got ruled out. At 4,500, I think he'd be a really strong value. And then McConnell is really cheap. He's 3,100. We've seen McConnell be a productive player when he gets minutes. I assume that if Halliburton is out, we would see McConnell draw the start. So at 3,100, McConnell would be a really good value if he does wind up starting. So there could potentially be a lot to like from Indiana, but that's obviously dependent on the status of Halliburton. And then on the other side with Cleveland, I think this matchup against Indiana is pretty solid. The Pacers do play at a really fast pace. Donovan Mitchell at 8,600, I think it's a fine mid-range play. I would prefer to go to LaMelo or SGA, but I have no issues with Mitchell on the slate. I think the matchup's really good. I think this is definitely a spot where he could have a good game. Darius Garland at 8K is a fine option too, but I probably would rather go to Mitchell between the two. I think it's a pretty good matchup for Jared Allen. The Pacers definitely have given up some big games to centers this season. Allen really struggled against Indiana last time they played, but normally when he gets his normal minutes, he's going to outperform this salary more times than not. I feel like this is a spot where he can get you a double-double. He can block some shots. I definitely think Jared Allen at 6,300 is a playable option. Evan Mobley at 6,200 is fine as well, but I'm not really interested in anything else on Cleveland, so I think that does it for that one. Let's move on to the next game, the Clippers and the Celtics. So for the Celtics today, we'll start off with them. You got Jason Tatum at 10,300. You got Jaylen Brown at 9,100. Both these guys have been playing really, really well this season. Tatum's playing at an MVP level. This matchup, though, is really tough. The Clippers' defense has really been good lately, especially with Kawhi healthy, with PG healthy. But, man, Tatum, I think, is a matchup-proof player. He's going to play huge minutes in a game like this that should be close. I still think Tatum at 10-3 is fine. Again, I'd rather go to SGA in a much better matchup, but I think Tatum is fine to go to. Jaylen Brown, I think, is okay as well, but I would definitely prefer Tatum between the two. The rest of the Celtics, I'm not really that interested in anyone else. Smart at 6K, don't love Horford, Brogdon at their price tags. I'm not super interested in. Williams, Robert Williams is really cheap, but he's just not playing enough minutes right now to be really viable. So it's really it's Tatum and Brown from Boston that I'm interested in, and that's probably it. And then on the Clippers side, you got Paul George at 8,400. You got Kawhi at 7,800. Between these two, I think I slightly lean Kawhi. Paul George has been playing better as of late. He's had some big games lately. He had a really big game last time against Detroit when Kawhi was out. Usually when Kawhi and PG are both healthy, I slightly lean Kawhi, and we have seen Kawhi's minutes start pretty much are back to normal. I don't want to say he's going to play 38 minutes, but last game against Toronto, he played 35. The game before that, he played 34. He can get, 34, 35 minutes here in what should be a close game against the Celtics. And, Kawhi, historically, I think has been a better per-minute producer than Paul George. Now, with Kawhi coming back from injury, maybe it takes him a few more games to get back to his normal production. Last few games, as you can see, he's only been averaging like a fantasy point per minute when he normally averages like 1.3 fantasy points per minute. 7,800 though, coming in with a little bit of a discount compared to Paul George. If I'm going to play one of the Clippers guys, I think I would take Kawhi over PG, but it's definitely close. I think both are viable. And then the rest of the Clippers, the only other guy that I'm interested in is Ivica Zubac. He's just been getting good minutes lately. He played 31 last game against Detroit in overtime. He played 41. We know Zubac is a really productive per-minute producer. When he gets the minutes, he's going to outperform the salary more times than not. Now, you can have games where he randomly plays like 17 minutes, like against Minnesota, 17 minutes. Against Boston, last time they faced, 17 minutes. But when he gets these 34, 41, 31, when he gets 30-plus minutes, he can get you easily 30-plus DraftKings points. Now, the Celtics, especially with Robert Williams back, their defense is definitely going to be better, especially like against bigs. It's not the best matchup, I don't think, for Zubac, but if he continues to play 30-plus minutes at 5,200, at that price tag, he is definitely in play for me. But that'll do it for this game. I think that's everything I'm interested in there. So moving on to the next game, the Grizzlies and the Raptors. We'll start off with the Raptors here. Some big news to keep an eye on from Toronto is Fred VanVleet's status, who is currently questionable. I think VanVleet got injured in their last game and did not return. So it'll be something to monitor here. Obviously, if VanVleet were to get ruled out, that would benefit pretty much all the main guys: Siakam, Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent. All those guys would definitely get a boost, and they would all look like better plays. Siakam at 10,200 does feel priced correctly, but man, he's just been so good this season. He's another guy that's just playing at an elite level right now. I don't love the matchup against Memphis. Steven Adams is a really good rim protector. He's a guy that can just body you up in the paint. He's a tough guy to really just manhandle. I mean, you're not really going to manhandle Steven Adams, and that's kind of what Siakam likes to do. Like, he just likes to drive at guys. It's tough to do that in this spot, but I think Siakam is still a playable pay-up option. I think his ownership will probably be fairly low if I had to guess. So I don't have an issue going there. Obviously, Siakam would look better if VanVleet got ruled out. But I think the guys I'm really interested in are like these mid-range guys. Scotty Barnes is only 6,700. OG is only 6,400. Gary Trent is really cheap. He's only 4,900. These are the guys I'm most interested in if Fred VanVleet gets ruled out. I think Scotty Barnes would be my favorite play of all the bunch, just because we've seen Scotty Barnes take on a big assist role, take on a big ball handling role whenever VanVleet's been out in the past. And Scotty Barnes has been a really tough player to predict this season, but he seems to be finding a groove as of late. Last two games he's been really productive. He's been playing big minutes. I think at 6,700, he would look like a really good play today if VanVleet got ruled out. Even if VanVleet plays, I don't mind going to Scotty Barnes. And then OG at 6,400, I'd have a good amount of interest in as well. And then Gary Trent at 4,900 is really cheap. I would have some interest in him as a value play if VanVleet got ruled out. So all those guys, those four main guys would look appealing. Now, if VanVleet plays, then, these guys are just kind of like viable, but none of them would really stand out. And I don't think there's any other value plays I'm really considering on Toronto. Like, even if VanVleet gets ruled out, I don't know if I'd go to Malachi Flynn. He's actually been a decent, he's been a consistent part of the rotation lately. So I think he would get decent minutes, but with him coming off the bench, it's just tough to tell really how many minutes he gets, even if VanVleet sits. I would think like probably 24, 25, which at 3,900 would definitely put him in play. So I at least did want to mention him, but that'll do it for the Toronto side. Now, looking at Memphis here, I don't love much on Memphis. It's a really tough matchup for Ja Morant. We've seen guards really struggle against Toronto. Toronto is just a defense that, they're going to swarm. They're going to trap a lot. Obviously, Ja Morant is a, player that can just dominate in any matchup, but I think it's definitely not the best spot for Ja, and especially with Bane back, Ja's going to lose a little bit of usage. Not my favorite pay-up option today. I think Bane at 7K is not my favorite pay-up option, or not my favorite play either. Since he's come back from his injury, he's kind of been limited. He played 27 minutes last game, but that also was a blowout. I would think if this game's close, he plays like 30 minutes, but it's 7K. I don't think Bane's really viable right now. Triple J, Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, none of those guys really stand out. I'm not loving much on Memphis here. I think most of my interest in this game is on the Toronto side, and especially if VanVleet gets ruled out, that's where I'm really going to be looking to, is those Toronto guys. But that'll do it for that game. Next game, the Knicks and the Spurs. So this is another one where we have some big injuries to monitor. So RJ Barrett got injured last game, did not return. They've already said I think he's going to be out like a week or two. So Barrett's going to be out for today. And Jalen Brunson is questionable. Brunson was questionable last game, did not play. So this is really big news. I mean, the Knicks would be really shorthanded if they have no Barrett and no Brunson for this game. If that were to be the case, we could obviously expect Julius Randle to have a massive role. And man, this is such a good matchup against the Spurs. Like, the Spurs have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They play at a really fast pace. Even at 9,500, I think Julius Randle would look like a really, really good pay-up option today, especially if Brunson were to get ruled out. And then if Brunson gets ruled out, I mean, Emmanuel Quickley is only 5K, and he played like almost the entire game last game. He played 51 minutes, counting overtime, so he basically sat for like 2 minutes. He almost played the entire game. Is that going to happen again? Probably not, but I think there's a legit shot that Emmanuel Quickley plays like 40 minutes. Right now, Tibbs is just running a super, super tight rotation. So, yeah, 5K. I mean, the dude shot 5 for 21 last game, and he still put up 42 DraftKings points. Like, that's just absurd. Yeah, I think Quickley at 5K. If Brunson is out, Quickley's probably like the best play on the slate. He's pretty much like unfadable, I think. And then Quentin Grimes, I think he would get a little bit of a boost as well if Brunson got ruled out. He played huge minutes last game. Like, they're gonna play, Randle, Barrett, or not Barrett, but they're gonna play Randle, Grimes, Quickley a ton of minutes. If Brunson's in, he should play a ton of minutes. That's a really good matchup for Brunson too. Like, I think Brunson, if he plays, is a really good play at 7,400. And then the other guy I want to mention, so Miles McBride was the guy that took, a lot of RJ Barrett's minutes last game. He started the second half in place of RJ Barrett. He played 46 minutes in overtime, so he played 41 minutes in regulation. Now, he wasn't very productive. He only had 21 DraftKings points, but the dude's 3,200. He's going to play a ton of minutes, I would think, and it's a great matchup. So I'm interested in Miles McBride as well. I mean, if Brunson is in, I think Randle, Brunson, McBride all look very solid. If Brunson is out, I think Randle, Brunson, McBride, Quickley, Grimes all look really solid. Like, pretty much their whole starting lineup I'm kind of interested in. There's a lot to like on the Knicks. They're running a super tight rotation right now. It's a great matchup, and the price tags on these guys are not like too crazy. I mean, these guys are still pretty affordable. But that probably does it for the Knicks. I think that's everything I'm kind of interested in there. Now, on the other side with the Spurs, don't like as much on San Antonio. Keldon Johnson, I think, is questionable for today, so we'll have to keep an eye on this news. And I think Devin Vassell, I think he's questionable as well. So there could definitely be a lot to like on the Spurs if Johnson and Vassell got ruled out. For now, assuming they play, like, they're both viable, Johnson and Vassell, but neither one really stand out. Trey Jones is kind of cheap at 5,900. I think he's an okay option. Jakob Poeltl's minutes have kind of been ticking back up a little bit. He got 26 last game. I don't love the matchup for Jakob Poeltl, but I think at 5,700, like, he's still playable. Didn't mention Mitchell Robinson. I think Mitchell Robinson is a really good play too. Like, San Antonio's been getting beat bad, like, in the paint. That's where Mitchell Robinson's going to do a lot of his damage, is scoring in the paint. So I think that's a good matchup for Mitchell Robinson too. We should have mentioned him as like a value play. But for San Antonio, I really don't like much on San Antonio if everyone's in. Now, if Johnson and Vassell get ruled out, then yeah, I think Trey Jones at 5,900 would look like a really good option. I think Jeremy Sohan would play a lot of minutes. I think at 4,800 he would look like a pretty good play. He's been playing really well lately, and his minutes have been pretty consistent. I think in order for me to go to Sohan, though, I would want Keldon and or Vassell to be out. And then guys like Josh Richardson, these guys will become viable, cheap options if Vassell and Johnson are out. Keita Bates-Diop, there'd be some value to go to here from San Antonio. But there's a lot of news to keep an eye on in this game. Definitely one that could be worth targeting pretty heavily if a lot of these questionable guys get ruled out. But let's talk about the last game of the night, the Rockets and the Mavericks. So for the Mavericks here, Luka Doncic at 12K. Man, hard to not like Luka here. I mean, the dude's coming off like one of the best games we've ever seen. 60 points, 21 rebounds, 10 assists. He had over 110 DraftKings points against the Knicks. I mean, Luka is just playing out of his mind right now. Against Houston, like, who on Houston is stopping Luka here? Nobody. I mean, we saw last time they played, Luka put up 82 DraftKings points in 42 minutes. He's really expensive at 12K, but like, Luka legit could put up 80 DraftKings points, and I would not be surprised here. I mean, Houston is just such a good matchup for Luka because they don't have anyone to stop him, and we've seen Houston give up some big games to guards all season. So great spot for Luka. A lot of interest in him. Christian Wood at 7,900, I have a little bit of interest in as well. I think the matchup for him is pretty good. His minutes have been really strong lately. 38 minutes against the Lakers, 40 minutes last game against the Knicks. He's probably going to play mid to high 30s minutes. Revenge game as well. I think Wood's fine at 7,900. Dinwiddie at 6,600 is playable because of the matchup. Tim Hardaway Jr. is playable because of the matchup, but neither one stand out as great options. Really, it's Luka and Wood that stand out from Dallas, especially Luka. Now on the other side with Houston, not as much interest in this Houston team. KPJ at 7,700. on this slate, I'm not super interested in. Jalen Green is 6,600. I know KPJ's had some good games lately, but I think if I was going to play one of the two Houston guards, I'd probably take the savings and play Jalen Green. Just because, normally these guys project pretty closely, and when there's a big discount, I think the guy that's just way cheaper is usually the better option. But I'm not in love with either one of the Houston guards. Şengün at 5,900 I think is playable. He's had some big games lately, but last game he really disappointed against Boston. I would expect him to bounce back here in a decent matchup against Dallas and against Christian Wood. Last time these teams played, Şengün did have 41 DK points in 27 minutes. So I don't mind Şengün at 5,900. He's probably my favorite play from Houston, either him or Jalen Green. But I really don't like much on this Rockets team. There's not too much that stands out here. I know Eric Gordon was out last game, but I think that was just because it was a back-to-back. He should be, should be back in the lineup for today. But that'll do it for that one, guys, and that'll do it for this 6-game Thursday slate. So as always, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Appreciate you watching. Hit that like button if you guys did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And again, if you guys are new to the channel, go check out PrizePicks, the sponsor of this video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks. Use my promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. As always, appreciate you guys a ton. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.